Today's episode is for all of us out there who struggle with routines and consistency, but need structure and routine to function. Hi, I'm Amber. I'm a performance coach for enterprise and strategic account executives. And today I'm going to teach you exactly how to create that structure and that routine and that consistency that you need when you're someone who absolutely fights against structure and consistency and routine. I'm one of those people. When I have routine, when I have my habits in place, when I have my rituals going, I am great. Things are going well. I have that structure that I need to keep me in line. And when I fall off the bandwagon, I know that that's what I need, but it's the thing that I rebel against the most. Please tell me that I'm not alone here. Please tell me that there are others like me out there. And I know that you're out there because I've coached you. So I want to talk about 4 strategies that you can use to create structure for yourself that doesn't feel like you're putting yourself in a box and doesn't feel like it's completely confining. So I've talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again. Consistency is absolutely helpful and worthwhile and is going to get you where you want to go. And it's also incredibly difficult for some people. For some people like myself, consistency just isn't something that you're going to be good at, and it's not something that you can expect from yourself. You can try to expect that from yourself, and then you can just let yourself down over and over again and feel disappointed in yourself and what's wrong with you, and you're never going to be able to get where you want to go because you can't be consistent. And so I want to give you some alternatives to just raw, brutal consistency and give you some options instead that are still going to get you where you want to go. So first of all, I want you to check in every single day and ask yourself, where am I starting from? Am I starting from 100% in the tank, or am I starting from maybe like 25% in the tank? Am I starting from 10% in the tank? And why is that? Is it that I stayed up too late watching a show that was ridiculous, but I was really engrossed in it, and so I didn't get enough sleep? Was it that my kid was up all night throwing up? Was it that I'm feeling under the weather? Was it that I'm just feeling really overwhelmed with personal things, and so focusing on work things feels really hard right now? Ask yourself, where am I starting today? How much do I have in the tank? And there's no judgment about where you're starting. It's just really helpful to know, because all too often we expect so much of ourselves. We think like, okay, today I have back-to-back meetings for 8 hours, but somehow I think that I'm going to get all 100 of these tasks on my to-do list done. And that's just not a realistic expectation of yourself. So first of all, ask yourself, where am I starting? And then second of all, ask yourself, what do I need to make today a success? I might be starting with not a lot in the tank. I might be starting with 25% of my regular energy, and that's okay. What kind of supports can I put in place for myself to have today still be a productive day? So if it's me, I have been working really hard the last few years on having self-compassion. Historically, I will just beat myself into submission. I'll just like force myself to do things. I'll motivate myself with fear. And it really got me to a place of like legit burnout of I couldn't function like that anymore. And it wasn't getting me any results. I was really good at motivating myself with fear and forcing myself to do the things I needed to do, but it wasn't actually getting me the outcomes that I was looking for. And so now I'm functioning from a place of self-compassion. How can I care for myself? How can I have kindness towards myself? How can I give myself the rest and the recovery that I need in order to be able to perform at the level that I want to? So I take an inventory every morning of like, okay, where am I starting at today? And what do I need to get myself at a 10 out of 10 for some portion of the day today? How can I get myself to be operating at that level for some portion of the day? So it might be, well, last night I stayed up late watching a dumb show that I was very invested in. And so today I'm starting out like a little bit groggy. Okay, well, what can be supportive for me today? You know what? Going for a walk can be very supportive. That's going to help boost my energy and boost my creativity. Writing down my to-do list is going to be very supportive for me because I know I'm going to be more distracted today than I normally would be. And so having a key list of what exactly needs to get done. And I might not even do the full planning out, prioritizing everything. I might just write the 4 things on a to-do list, on a Post-it note that need to get done today. Maybe it would be really supportive for me to find a friend or a peer or a colleague to do some virtual co-working with and get on a Zoom for an hour. And while they're there and I'm doing my work, I am completely focused because I know that they're watching me and I can't stand up and go get distracted by something else. So I'm asking myself, where am I starting today and what would be supportive to me? What do I need to get myself to a 10 out of 10 for just some portion of the day? So I've shared this example before, but one time we got home from a vacation. We were all super tired. We went to Disneyland. It was the best, but we were so exhausted. We were walking like 8 miles a day. And I got home. It was Monday. I just got home the night before and I had back-to-back client calls all day long. And I could have been like, you just got back from a week of vacation. You're so behind. You have so many tasks that you need to follow up on. But instead, I practiced being kind and supportive to myself. And I said, okay, Amber, all you have to do is be focused, alert, and present for your coaching calls. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And so in between coaching calls, I would go sit out on my porch and I would just let myself rest. I would breathe. I would calm down my nervous system. I would drink a lot of water. I was fueling myself and I let myself just basically relax in this day that I had high demands and low energy. And I crushed all my coaching calls. It was super fun. And then at the end of the day, I felt so revived that I spent the last 30 minutes of my day before my kids got home from camp and spent the last 30 minutes and I knocked out every single one of my tasks that I was behind on. It was almost as if my psyche was saying like, hey, you took really good care of me. I actually can do these tasks that you needed me to do. But if I would have pressured myself into it, it would have been a lot harder. I would have felt really bad about myself and it would have just taken me back even more days to recover versus giving myself the time and the space that I needed to recover right then in the moment. So I want you to first ask yourself, where am I starting from? Maybe ask yourself, why am I starting from here? Are there things that I could do differently next time? But just notice, where am I starting from and what could be really supportive? And I want you to approach this from a very compassionate, very kind place versus a like, oh, you're the worst. Why would you stay up so late? You ruined everything. This is horrible. Like, we're really good at that, but let's practice being kind and compassionate towards ourselves. So second, I want you to think about having a toolbox of tools that you can pull from at any time. I think we get in our heads and we get this idea that we have to be consistent and we have to be completely disciplined and we have to be exact and have the same structure every single day if we're going to be successful. And there are a lot of people who are preaching this, and I don't think that they're wrong, but I think that for some of us, that very, very rigid structure is not what we need and actually makes us have less structure because we rebel against it so much. And so instead, what I want you to think of is having a toolbox. So I know where I'm starting today. I'm meeting myself where I am and what tool in my toolbox could be most helpful for me. Maybe today I need a hammer. Maybe tomorrow the drill is the best thing. Maybe the next day it's a measuring tape that I need. Whatever it is, you don't have to use every single tool every single day. You can have variability in how you get your work done and you can have less structure while still having supports for yourself. So I want you to think about all these different tools, and I teach so many different tools in this YouTube. If you've watched all the episodes or if you've gone through this podcast, you've learned so many. There's tools on how to prioritize, tools on how to break down your tasks smaller, tools on how to know what you should be getting done today, tools on how to plan out your weeks or your quarters or your days. So just think about like what tools in my toolbox are going to be most supportive to me. And I think there are times when we are floundering and we're struggling and we're just like in a really sucky place. Like we're kind of in a slump right now. And we think like, I've got to find something new. I got to find something different. There's something out there that's going to solve my problem. And I think that we sometimes forget that like we actually already have the tools. We just got to go back to using the tools that we had before. It would be like, an analogy would be like, maybe you've got like lower back pain. not that any of us would have that, but maybe like you've got lower back pain. And so you start stretching. And then after you start stretching more, your lower back pain goes away. And you're like, this is great. And then like you stop stretching. So then a month later, your lower back pain comes back. And you're like, well, now we got to find a new solution. Like, no, you don't. You just got to go back to what worked for you, which was stretching. That worked. You can go back to the tool that was working. So I love to think about what are the times when I am firing on all cylinders? When have been the times in my career, in my life, when things have been going really well? And what supports and structure did I have for myself then? What was I doing for myself? What tools did I have? What resources did I have? And how can I implement more of those in my life right now? So think of having this toolbox and you have these tools that you can use whenever you need. And you don't have to use the same tools every single day. You can use them when you need them, but remind yourself that they're there. Okay, third tactic that I want you to think about, and I've talked about this before, is rather than focusing on rigid consistency, I want you to focus on having quick recoveries. So maybe you do have that day where you're sick, or there's something going on in your personal life that's really challenging, or something happened with a kid, or whatever it is. You've stayed up too late watching a show. Whatever it is, you have this day and you show up and you're like, man, I'm really not at my best today. That's okay. Maybe you miss your gym workout for the day, and that's something that you get your workout every single day, but you missed it today. What I would typically do in this situation past me would be, I would beat myself up. I'd be like, come on, Amber, you said that you were going to do this. You had this plan. You made your checklists. You made your sticker charts. You planned it all out. And now you fell off again. You missed a day. Like, what's wrong with you? How come you can't be consistent? And that's how I would talk to myself in the past. And because I was so rude to myself, it would take me days and days to get back on the bandwagon and actually get done what I needed to get done. And so now I'm focused on, rather than beating myself up and telling myself that I'm horrible for missing a day, I focus on telling myself I'm not going to miss 2 days. And this has changed everything for me. It's totally okay for me to be a human. It's totally okay for me to have bad days, but I'm not going to miss 2 days. And what that does is it gives me a break. It lets me relax. It lets me rest for the day. And then it's like, okay, but you're going back to it tomorrow. And that helps me to have those supports without being super rigid and having all this structure for myself. So think about those tools. Maybe you have tools that, like, it could be useful if you use those tools today, but you missed a day. That's okay. Let's just focus on tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a really great day. And for some of my clients, they really like thinking about their days, like an entire day, in quarters, or thinking about days in halves. You can think about, okay, the morning was not so good. I was pretty distracted. I was doom scrolling on LinkedIn. I didn't get done what I needed to get done. It's lunchtime. I'm going to reset. Just because the morning wasn't good doesn't mean that the afternoon has to be bad. Having a mental reset for yourself and a mental refresh, and being like, okay, or maybe it's quarters. Like, okay, the first quarter of the day, not great. The second quarter of the day is going to be bonkers. Like, just wait. I'm going to get everything done. Whatever it is, you can reset and you can decide, like, okay, maybe my work day was horrible, but I'm not going to carry that into my family life. And I'm going to let my brain mentally reset. We're going to start over, and we're going to start fresh for when I see my kids and I get to hang out with my family. Okay, the last thing, if you're someone who needs structure but rebels against it all the time, is so simple and so silly, but can be very profound. The last thing that I want you to try is try naming it something different. If you hate the word routine, maybe call it a ritual. A ritual sounds so much more fun than routine, right? Routine sounds like so like, oh, I have to do that. That's what I'm going to do. But a ritual is like, this is who I am. This is what I do. These are my rituals. This is how I take care of myself. If you hate the word planning, and every time you see planning on your calendar and it feels horrible, try changing it to list making. I'm not planning, I'm just making lists. If you hate the idea of having buffer time or admin time, maybe you call it clearing the list time or closing the loop time. You can absolutely rename all of these different things that you need to do. And it sounds ridiculous. I get that. But it can be so, so helpful. I do this to myself, or I do this with myself whenever I'm hesitating to clean. I'll be like, okay, I really need to clean the kitchen, but I really am not feeling up for it. I'll be like, you don't have to clean the kitchen. Just start moving things from one place to another. And it's exactly the same thing. Like, I am moving dishes from the counter to the sink. Like, that's all I'm doing. And technically I'm cleaning. But when I tell myself all you have to do is just move things from one place to another, it sounds so much easier than cleaning. So don't hesitate to get a little bit ridiculous with yourself. It can be wildly helpful to get yourself the structure that you need, even if you hate the word structure. Maybe call it support instead. Okay, so to recap, we talked about starting out with checking in on yourself. Where are you today? Where are you starting at? Are you starting out with a full tank? Are you starting out with a half tank? Are you starting out with a quarter tank? How are you starting? What happened to get you here? Maybe there's some lessons we can learn to not do it again. Let's not do it 2 days in a row. How about? And then what could be really supportive for you today? Next, I want you to remember that you have an entire toolbox of tools that you can use at any given time. The toolbox can contain things like going for a walk, calling a friend, co-working with a virtual coworker, getting some structure in your to-do list, blocking off time, focusing on your most important things first thing in the morning, breaking your tasks down smaller. You have so many different tools that you can use. Think about what's worked for you in the past and bring those tools up anytime you need them to create the structure and support that you need for yourself. It doesn't have to be consistent. It doesn't have to be that you use these tools every single time. You can use them whenever you need them. Third, I want you to focus on quick recoveries. It's okay if you miss a day. It's okay if you fall off the bandwagon. All you have to do is focus on quick recoveries. You're like, oh man, there I go again. How interesting. Well, we're not going to do it again tomorrow. Or the second half of the day is going to be even better than the first half. I was pretty distracted, but I'm getting it together. I'm going to listen to my music that pumps me up, that gets me inspired, that gets me focused, and I'm going to get this done. And lastly, if you are a kindergartner like myself, you can just give it a different name. If it bothers you to call it planning, call it list making. If it bothers you to call it admin time, call it clearing the list time. If it bothers you to call it structure, call it support. It's a super small, ridiculous change that can have lasting impacts, I promise. I hope this was helpful for you. Please reach out. I love to hear from people when they listen to these and when they found them helpful. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I post there every single day if you want more helpful tools in your toolbox. Just come search for my name, Amber Deibert, or you can join my newsletter. Every single week, I'll give you a notification of when there's a new episode out, and I'll give you another helpful newsletter with very practical, actionable tips that you can implement right away to add more tools to your toolbox. You can get on the list at mentalmastery.com/newsletter. And I'll see you next week.